Hi everyone, my name is Jessica. I'm lead consultant on the recruitment, and I would like to start going back to the previous release of SuccessFactors, the Q2 release, because based on this release that they enable the option to have foundation objects or generic objects in in the recruitment module in SuccessFactors, we will start seeing a lot of change for the next releases based on this release. So just to recall, from the previous release in the recruitment module, we started using, as I said, foundation object or generic objects, the same type of fields that we use today in the EC. And this change allows us to, for example, stop maintaining a two-peak list or stop maintaining the field twice in the system and only use one time. Based on this release, so for this coming release, I think we have two major changes based on this one. The first one is the option to start using inactive values when creating a job requisition. So, for example, clients that today they are using for the division, the location, and the department, they are using the derived field type of field. So we always had a problem when they wanted to recruit someone to a department. There is an under creation that still it's inactive, doesn't exist. We have an effective date to start working with, but it's not physically existing in the system. So now using this field and the foundation and generic objects, we will be able to create values and to use them as inactive when creating the job requisition. Okay, so this is the first, and I think it's a huge one. The second one, the second release is the option to start working with different vendors on background checks. So we have a lot of clients that they wanted to have an integration with a background check vendor, with a third party, but SuccessFactors only supported with the first advantage and verifications this integration. So from this release, we will be able to create integrations with another vendors for the background checks. And it means that besides having the option to create integration, we will also be able to use in one requisition more than one background check vendor if we would like to. And another new is that already third parties for background checks are already creating their standard integration with SuccessFactors. So if you are working with a background check vendor that it's not first advantage, I suggest you to check with them if they know about this release and if maybe they are already working and standard is making this integration standard. Okay. And the next release is, and I think that's the best one in my opinion. It's that we can now start working with rules as we have in the Employee Central, also in the recruitment. And for now, it's the same for the foundation object, but for now we have only in job requisition and offer approval. And why I think it's so great, because today, in case we wanted to create a requisition and say, okay, let's by default create a rule that let's populate the division or the department fields based on these organizational fields of the hiring manager. So we couldn't do things like this. So from now we can. Another example, for example, for the offer approval. If we have an offer approval and we change a value in the offer approval from what we had in the job requisition, so maybe we want to send a notification to someone. So for example, I changed the currency that was originally set in the job requisition. So I want the system now to send a notification to the recruiter or to the budget owner about this. So now it's also possible. And the last example is also for the offer approval, that now we can create calculations on the offer approval based on data that we already inserted in the job requisition or even in the offer approval. So for example, we can say that when I open an offer approval, I want to calculate the sign-in bonus to be 10% of the base salary that I'm offering. So we can also create this kind of rules now and I think it's great. Another change is for the pipeline, that we had some standard steps in the applicant status that we couldn't manage the visible to permission. For example, the auto-disqualified, the requisition closed, the hired on other requisitions, they were always appearing. If you had access to the pipeline, you could always see, and you could always see also who are the candidates inside these steps. So from this release, we will be able to hide, and we will also be able to hide the count of candidates in every one of these steps. Another release, and I think it's very important for the recruitment and customers, is that until today in the candidate profile, the permissions of fields that were synchronized with the employee profile, they were defined in the data model. It means that if you wanted to change the permission that we give, for example, to the recruiter about a specific field, you needed the partner to go to the data model and change the permissions there. So from now on, all the permissions of, again, candidate profile fields that are synchronized with employee profile will be based on the role-based permission, and you will have the full control on it. Next release is extensions to the audit trail. So we have today the audit trail in the pipeline application form, where we can see the progress of the candidate within the specific job requisition. So they are adding more information to this audit trail. So one of them, you can see when the candidate profile was created. You can also see, for example, if the candidate changed the previous employment, the background elements, for example, the previous employment, the education, the language, so you can see if he changed something there, what was the change. You can also see when you close the candidate from consideration and you open the candidate for consideration. So you will start having more and more information in the audit trail. And I think the last one, it's not the last one that I will show. It's not like a huge change as we saw before, but I think it's a huge change for the client. So we can see now in the recruitment landing page that we will have a position column. So until today, we couldn't see from the recruiting landing page if we had a requisition that we created from the position, or we used the position ID field in the requisition. We couldn't see the relation between the requisition and the position in the landing page, and now we can do so. Those are the enhancements that I choose to show you, but I must say that for this release we had a lot more of change and very important ones. So I really encourage you to check the file with the changes that were done in this release. Thank you.